My dear viewers, this week farm structural changes is dominating the news. It took 50 odd years for India to increase its milk productivity from 2 liters per cow per day to 6 liters. The Operation Flood program was a revolution of mass replication from 30 producers to over 100 producers per village. But can we afford 50 years time to replicate the Operation Flood again, to gain from 6 liters to 10 liters per cow per day? We cannot. The Operation Flood didn't spend much of a budget at that period of time. The next was the National Dairy Plan, which spent around 10,000 crores. And do you know that the corporate social responsibility projects in India in the year 2018-19 was about 1 lakh crores just in 1 year. If the private stakeholders take the onus and responsibility to spend at least 10% for the dairy sector development, we could make a big change. But my dear ladies and gentlemen, the next dairy revolution in India will be of consolidation of farm size, of productivity. An online poll that was conducted in LinkedIn showed convincingly the future Indian dairy herd to be of 50 to 100 animal family farms. Welcome to Fox Global Network, live frontier dairy news of the week. You are listening to Amit Saha. I'm the founder of the Frontiers of Grassroots Sustainability Network. Fox Network is working with the food, health and livelihood stakeholders for developing a sustainable future food system using frontier technologies in cooperation with the different stakeholders. The top news is covering the Fox Frontier concept of integrated dairy farming system, covering 10 pivotal dimensions, covering the whole dairy supply chain from production to consumption, as shown in this chart. In this week, we start with the farmers' consolidation to the menace of stray cattle management in the other side. In the top focus, one dairy farmer. A study conducted by Wageningen Economic Research on behalf of Friesland Campina found that in the next 10 years, the number of dairy farms in Netherlands will decrease by 33% from 16,000 farms in 2018 to approximately 10,600 in 2030. The total amount of milk produced will remain the same until 2024 and then increase slightly towards 2030. This is evident from a basic scenario of an exploration of development directions for Dutch dairy farming for 2030 using 4 scenarios which were juxtaposed. Coming to the top focus 2 on dairy herd. Here we have news from Africa where it is found that a second evolutionary jolt to Africa's cattle herds using genetic marker technologies will make its herd productive and at the same time resilient to the adverse environment. In fact, Africa has a lot of diversity in its cattle population. The only thing is that has to be a genetic revolution to bring about yield changes without hampering the biodiversity, and this can be possible through genetic latest technologies. The top focus 3 in dairy feed is news from India, where you find farmers in Haryana are selling the crop remains at the crop residue collection centers set up at different villages by groups of cultivators who further sell the fodder and paddy straw to other states like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Delhi, and also to gaushalas after making their bundles and crushing the straw into dry fodder. The fodder is used for animal feed as well as in many industries like cardboard, brick, clay, etc. Coming to the top focus 4 on animal shed. A recent report funded by the Provincial Growth Fund researching the development of the sheep and goat milk industry showed New Zealand exports of sheep milk products valued at about $20 million. It was expected to lift to $250 million in 2024 through further production of high value products such as infant formula. Now, to take this economic viewpoint in perspective, New Zealand farmers are looking into how they can enforce system flexibility, that is, converting the existing cattle sheds to sheep farm sheds. And one of the drive as experiment is to convert a 520 cow dairy farm herringbone parlor to a rapid exit 850 sheep EV milking system. The flock is 860 sheep with room to move up to 1200 in 2021. The sheep are milked twice a day, each one taking about 3 minutes to milk out. 2 people can milk the flock in about 2 hours. And coming to the top focus 5, as part of the frontier concept of dairy farming development, is dairy machines. Here we have news from the company which manufactures tractors, harvesters, combines. The International Harvest 1256 Wheatland, a 1960s model but with a global presence, and in 1967 they released this model. The list of improvement wasn't super long, but there was one pretty noteworthy item, and the most major improvement was to the motor. The power rating went up by 4 HP, coupled with the increase in the cubic inches displacement to 407, which made a big difference to its power ability, torque and popularity. The small changes in machines makes a big change in the user's adaptability and thus makes it popular. Top focus 6 is on feed management, where the news is on greenhouse gas emissions. A study shows that removing cows from the planet is not the solution to reduce these emissions. The study, which appeared in the Journal of Dairy Science, was conducted by researchers from Virginia Tech and the US Dairy Forage Research Center. It is estimated the US dairy industry contributes roughly 1.5% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the study suggests removing all the dairy cattle from the country would reduce that number by 0.7% and it would cause other issues. The study's lead investigator says if dairy cattle were no longer present, there would be effects to the handling of pasture and grain lands previously used for producing dairy feed, along with falling demand for byproduct feeds and sourcing fertilizer. Eliminating dairy cattle would also reduce the supply of essential nutrients for people. Dairy supplies the protein requirement of 169 million people in US and the calcium requirements of 254 million people. Top focus 7 and the dairy shed management is news from India in Punjab, Ludhiana district, where some estimation shows that about 5 million stray cattle in India exist, and about 2000 goshalas are already built to accommodate these stray animals. Thus, capacity of 2500 animals per shed should solve this problem, but it is not. So the problem is larger in terms of actual numbers of stray cattle and or its management. You may still encounter stray cattle on city roads, even though 5 crores of cess funds were spent in last 3 years on this menace, reported in Ludhiana. Coming to top focus 8 on the herd health management, here's this news on the disease caused due to the outbreak of Salmonella in dairy calves, which is one of the most difficult and frustrating issues to deal with. In most cases, the mortality rate is high and the economic loss is significant. Due to its in vitro and asymptomatic presence, it's difficult to prevent its infection, but proper immunity development, nutrition, healthy calf management practices, and monitoring can help to reduce the loss. Now, continuing with management issues in the top focus 9, dairy waste management. Here there is news from US where this company US Gain, which deals with renewable energy, has installed a complete anaerobic digester converting animal waste to a clean low carbon fuel, that is RNG, natural gas, for the transportation industry in the 1700 cow deer run dairy in Canada. Animal bedding and nutrient-rich fertilizer is also produced, thus saving costs for this farm. In 2021, this company will expand the system's capacity by installing a mixing tank that will enable other local farms to bring animal waste to this dairy. The company says, we are excited about the opportunities that will create for the region both environmentally and economically. This was said by Pat Van Dey, US Gains Director of Operations. It is rewarding to be on both sides of the supply chain, managing development of RNG production sites while at the same time building new natural gas fueling stations in which gas produced can be dispensed. Coming to top focus 10 on the dairy market management, where the news is again from India in the state of Jharkhand, where Manish Piyush, an IM graduate who worked in 14 countries in senior positions, came back to his home state to solve a basic problem, access to chemical-free milk. He joined hands with his childhood friend Aditya Kumar to start milk subscription app Purest Dairy Foods in 2019. This Ranchi-based startup provides organic cow milk and chemical-free dairy products. Dairy malpractices prompted this Jharkhand duo to start this venture to bring safe, unadulterated and organic milk to consumers. So finally, signing off, this is Amit Saha, wishing you a very safe, productive and inspiring weekend ahead. I hope this edition has brought some value addition to your business. I have been always receiving feedback on technologies to improve dairy farming from my friends, colleagues and well-wishers. I would look forward to the same. For regular updates of Fog Network, please subscribe to our Facebook group, live channel in YouTube and our website in the link below. Thank you.